Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be doing a get ready with me and a final review, final thoughts on this palette right here. This is the Grease Anniversary palette from Sola Look Cosmetics. I have bought a previous palette before this one from Sola Look Cosmetics, and I did do a video on it, and that was the Dirty Dancing. I believe it was an anniversary for that movie as well, but it was a Dirty Dancing eyeshadow palette. I did a couple of videos on that palette, I'm pretty sure, so if you haven't seen that, I will link those down in the description box if you want to go ahead and check those out. The Dirty Dancing palette is still available on their website, and I saw that they came out with a Grease eyeshadow palette, and I absolutely love the movie Grease, so I absolutely had to get this palette, at least for my collection. And I also already did a video on this palette, just doing kind of like a first impressions review, so showing like the packaging, everything that comes when you order this palette, doing swatches of all the eyeshadows and everything like that. So if you haven't seen that already, I will make sure to link that down in the description box so you can go ahead and watch that first to get my final or my first impression thoughts on the palette. So go ahead and watch that first and then come back and watch this video, because this video I'm going to be applying some of these eyeshadows on my eyes, try them out using eyeshadow brushes and everything like that, so I can give my final thoughts to you guys in this video. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right on into this video. So if you would like to see a get ready with me with this look that I have going on right here, and then also hear about my final thoughts and if I would recommend this Grease palette from Sola Look Cosmetics, then just keep on watching. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I already have all of my face makeup on along with my eyebrows, and my eyelids are primed. I just decided to do all of that off of camera just so we can focus on the eyeshadows in this palette. Now, I don't really know what kind of look that I want to go for today. I think one of the colors I definitely want to use is Jelly Bean, and it is this color up here. It's like a darker blue color. I definitely want to use that one because that was, I think, the top eyeshadow that I was the least impressed with when I did the swatches and everything like that in my previous video. So I definitely want to give it that eyeshadow another shot, actually like putting it on my eyes using eyeshadow brushes and all that good stuff. But other than that, I really don't know what other eyeshadows I definitely want to use for this look. And since a majority, if not all of these eyeshadows are shimmer eyeshadows, that's definitely going to be a little interesting because I really want to use like only these eyeshadows in this video. I don't really want to dip into other eyeshadows, other palettes, anything like that. So that's going to be interesting, especially you know, doing the transition shades and other shades in my crease, but that's all right. We're just gonna, you know, kind of wing it for this video and just try out these eyeshadows because that's what this video is about. So yeah, I'm gonna start out my eyeshadows like I always do. I'm gonna take this fluffy brush. This one is from BH Cosmetics, and I think I'm going to take maybe Beauty School, and it would be this eyeshadow right here. Alright, so that color is on, and then I also took that same color and just put it under or on my lower lash line. And I must say, I really do like this color. It is really pretty. It's a little hard to get used to having like a shimmer like in my crease. I'm just not used to that, but still it's a really pretty color. So the next color that I'm going to add in my crease, I think I'm going to go with a little bit of a darker color, and I think the color that I'm going to do is this color right here. This is in the name Heartbreak, kind of like a nice like burnt orange brown color. So I'm just going to take this crease brush. This brush is also from BH Cosmetics, and I'm just going to put that in my crease. All right, so we have the color in the name Heartbreak on, and that one kind of surprised me a little bit. I feel like it doesn't look as intense on the eye compared to when we swatched it, and it was a little bit harder to work with. Of course, that could be trying to like blend two shimmers together. I just feel like shimmery eyeshadows just don't work well that way. I still think it's really pretty, but it's not as intense as I remember it being when I swatched it. So yeah, now we have that on. Now I think I'm gonna go in with a lighter color for the lid, and then maybe also the brow bone highlight, depending on what color I choose to do, and then we will go in with the Jelly Bean on the outer corner. I think one of the colors that I definitely want to try is the color in Summer Lovin', and it is this color right here. As you can see, it's kind of has like a yellow tint to it, and I think I definitely want to try that color because I remember from when I swatched it for the previous video that I did on this palette. It was a pretty color, but it wasn't as pigmented, so I think I want to try to go in on the lid with that color and then maybe blend it in with another color, maybe go in with Too Pure, which is this color right here. This is just a very nice light shimmery color. So yes, I think first I'll go in with Summer Lovin' just to try it out, and then maybe I'll go in with Too Pure on top of that, and then yeah, I will go in with Jelly Bean, the dark blue color in my crease, and then we'll move on to the next thing. All right, so we have the eyelids of the eye finished, and I ended up doing something a little bit differently than I thought I was gonna do. So on my lids, I only put the Summer Lovin' color. I think Summer Lovin', when you're actually like putting it on your eyes and using eyeshadow brushes, I think it looks a lot better compared to when I swatched it. So I didn't end up putting the Too Pure color over top. I just have Summer Lovin' on the lids, but I did end up going in with the Too Pure color, and I put that in the inner corners of my eyes for a highlight, and then I also did it for the brow bone highlight as well. So yes, still love Too Pure. I even loved it when I did the swatches, and Summer Lovin', I do like it a lot better on the eyes and using eyeshadow brushes compared to how it looked in the swatch. So that is a definite plus. And as far as Jelly Bean, I did put that on the outer corners of my eyes, as you can see. I do think it looks pretty on the eyes. Don't get me wrong, like I don't think it looks absolutely horrible. I don't think it like ruined the eyeshadow at all, but my opinion on the eyeshadow hasn't really changed from the swatch it video that I did. I still think it isn't as strong of a color, at least how it looks in the pan of the eyeshadow palette. You know, I think it definitely could be a little bit more pigmented. So yes, still it's not my favorite eyeshadow color, but I think it does look pretty on the eyes. So yeah, like I said, the eyeshadow or the eyelid part of the eye is done. I think I'm gonna go in with some smaller eyeshadow brushes and go on the lower lash line of my eye, smoke it out a little bit more using the same colors that I used on the lid. I think I'm gonna use the Beauty School color, the one that we put first on our eyes, like the transition light shimmery brown shade. I think I'm gonna go back in with that color with a smaller brush and do the lower lash line. And I haven't decided if I just want to do Heartbreak on the lower lash line or if I want to go in with Jelly Bean. Or maybe I'll go in with both. Or maybe I'll mix Beauty School and Heartbreak together and then go in with Jelly Bean. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to the next thing. All right, so we have those three colors on the lower lash line, and I must point out, using Jelly Bean with like a more like compact eyeshadow brush, it is a lot more pigmented, or it is easier to build up, and I don't have to really I didn't have to work with it as hard as I did on the eyelid using like a blender crease brush. So I definitely think that color worked out a lot better on the lower lash line using like a smaller compact brush compared to a blending brush. So that's something I definitely wanted to point out. But yeah, I think I'm all set with the eyeshadows. I think I am going to do the rest of my eye makeup off camera. I'm just going to apply some white eyeliner on my waterline and then also apply some mascara. And, oh, maybe also a lip color so that'll completely finish my face makeup as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera, and then I will be right back so we can talk about this eyeshadow palette a little bit more, give my final thoughts, and if I recommend it or not. So I will be right back. All right, and this is the completed makeup look using the Grace palette from Sola Look Cosmetics. So to kind of do a little recap of my thoughts of these eyeshadows in this palette, I was pretty impressed with some of them, especially Summer Lovin', which is this color right here. That is the color that I put on my eyelids, and I remember from doing the swatching video, I didn't think Summer Lovin' was as pigmented. Still a pretty color, but I didn't think it was as pigmented, so I didn't know how it was going to look on the eyes. But when I put it on my eyelids, I was pretty impressed with it. I didn't have to pack a ton of eyeshadow on my eyes. So I would definitely say putting Summer Lovin' on your eyes and using eyeshadow brushes, it definitely looks a lot better, a lot prettier, a lot more pigmented than just swatching it on your arms. So I was very impressed with Summer Lovin'. As far as Jelly Bean, I remember from the swatching video that it was not as pigmented, not as intense as I thought it was going to be. As you can see in the palette, it looks like a very intense dark blue eyeshadow, but I remember from swatching it on my arm, it definitely was not as pigmented or as intense. And when I put it on my eyes, I did notice that this eyeshadow, it works a lot better with a more like small compacted brush compared to a, you know, a more flexible blending or crease brush. So I guess that's something to keep in mind when you're doing your eyeshadows, but I feel like my opinion on it hasn't really changed, which can be a good or bad thing. It's not like I think any worse of the eyeshadow. I still don't think it's as pigmented, but it's still a pretty color. It's just a little bit more subtle, so I guess that depends on the person. If you're fine with more subtle eyeshadow colors that aren't as like electrifying, you see how I tied in that Grace term, then I think it'll work just fine for you. Something I also want to mention when I, you know, dug into each of these eyeshadow colors with my eyeshadow brushes, I did mention in my swatching video that one of the eyeshadows, I believe it was Electrifying, which is this color right here, this like shimmery red color down here. I did notice or mention in that swatching video that that had a ton of fallout when I, you know, used my finger to pick up the eyeshadow color, but I did notice from this video, using my eyeshadow brushes for each of the eyeshadows, they did have a good amount of fallout. That's another thing to keep in mind. Don't put a ton of pressure with your eyeshadow brushes or even with your fingers if you're swatching them, even though I did notice a lot more fallout, at least on the eyeshadow palette. I didn't notice a ton of fallout on my face, which we will get to that in a second. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind when you're picking up the colors, is just, you know, do a little bit at a time and don't put a ton of pressure on the eyeshadows, because that will cause a lot of fallout, which is going to cause you to waste a lot of the eyeshadow. So yes, to get to the fallout on my face, I will tell you guys, I was expecting to have a ton of fallout on my face just because these are shimmery eyeshadows, and I've just noticed this through, you know, various eyeshadow palettes from various brands. Shimmery eyeshadows just tend to have more fallout, at least from my experience. So I was definitely expecting to have a lot of fallout on my face, but I actually don't have any fallout on my face, which I was super impressed with. And another concern that I mentioned in my swatching video is the fact that majority of these, if not all of them, are shimmer eyeshadows, which I'm already not a fan of shimmery eyeshadows. I don't use a ton of them. I'm definitely more of a matte girl when it comes to my eyeshadows. So I was very worried about using these eyeshadows. I didn't know how they were gonna, you know, blend in the crease or how they were gonna blend together. I was concerned, like, what if they get really chunky or just don't move around that much or that easily. But from using the few colors that I did from this eyeshadow palette, I am super impressed how it turned out. I did mention there was a little trouble mixing Beauty School and Heartbreak into my crease. Those were the two crease colors that I used. These two colors right here, as you can see. Looking at the end result of the eyeshadow, it looks really pretty and everything looks pretty blended, I would say. And yeah, I feel like the only negative I can give it in this video is just the fallout that you get on the eyeshadow palette when you're picking up the eyeshadow colors, and the fact that my opinion on Jelly Bean, that hasn't really changed. But other than that, I am very impressed with this eyeshadow palette. When I have to be honest, when I first bought this eyeshadow palette, I was expecting it to only be for collecting purposes. Kind of similar to the Beauty and the Beast palette that I picked up from Hot Topic and I did, you know, a couple videos on a year or two ago. I can link those down in the description box if you want to check that out. But that eyeshadow palette, I have basically for collecting purposes, and that's honestly what I thought this palette was going to be for. But after, you know, doing the swatches and doing this get ready with me using these eyeshadow colors, I am so impressed by them that I think this could definitely be an eyeshadow palette that I would use quite often if I'm in the mood for shimmery eyeshadows. So yeah, my final thoughts on this palette, if I would recommend it or not, if I think you should get it, I think you definitely should. I think this is an awesome palette. And again, just for being like shimmery eyeshadows, like I'm super impressed with how they work. The pigmentation on some of them, how easily they blend and how they just look on the eye. They look so pretty. I give this palette a 5 out of 5 stars after using it, you know, on my eyes with makeup brushes or eyeshadow brushes and everything like that. I give this palette 5 out of 5 stars and I would definitely recommend it. If you're a Grease fan, if you love collecting makeup, this is definitely a palette that you should have in your collection. All right, everybody, so I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover on this Grease palette from Sola Look Cosmetics. If you have any other comments, questions, concerns of dealing with this palette or anything like that, you can definitely leave those in the comments down below, or you can ask me on any of my social media websites that will all be linked in the description box down below. And yeah, I really hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please make sure to check out the swatching first impressions review I did on this palette. If you're curious to see how these swatch or to hear about my thoughts in that video, I can link that down in the description box down below as well. And yeah, I think that's all that I have for you guys today. So again, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I really hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, everyone.